This is not the story of generals or famous snipers. It is the story of a soldier who lived through the encirclement and collapse at Stalingrad. Not a hero in legend, but a witness to fear, endurance, and survival. This is the story of Gerhard Hindenlang, a German infantry officer trapped in the battle that changed World War II. In September 1942, the German Sixth Army pushed into Stalingrad, part of Hitler's wider offensive into the Soviet Union. Among them was Gerhard Hindenlang, a first lieutenant in the 71st Infantry Division. He entered the city with his unit, spearheading assaults through rubble-strewn streets toward the Volga River. They fought for every building, every street corner, foot by foot. By late November 1942, Soviet forces had surrounded the entire German Sixth Army. Hindenlang's division ended up entrenched in a basement beneath Stalingrad's central department store, a grim refuge from shellfire and Soviet assault. Here, in the shadow of destruction, officers and men survived on dwindling rations and hope. Sometimes, even water or a mouthful of grain seemed like a prize. Hindenlang later recalled that supplies once stockpiled at the beginning of the campaign were slowly used up. They tried to prepare for winter, but provisions were never enough. Food became a memory, hunger a constant companion. Outside, frostbite claimed toes and fingers. Inside, the men huddled for warmth, listening to distant explosions and the ever-creaking ruin above them. As the siege tightened, the question of survival became unavoidable. In late January 1943, Hindenlang found himself at the center of difficult decisions. Encircled, with Soviet tanks cutting off all routes of escape, he and his commanders debated survival or surrender. Rumors spread of promotion, even field marshal rank. But these titles did nothing to fill empty stomachs or save lives. With radios failing and command structures breaking, survival depended on instinct and willpower rather than directives. Hindenlang described how officers, once confident in victory, began to doubt every assumption. The world outside the basement was chaos: smoke, fire, bodies, and broken cities. Hope became fragile, whispered from man to man, like a secret kept too long. In late January, Soviet forces finally reached the command post. Negotiations began, and the German soldiers understood they would be taken prisoner. Hindenlang witnessed the surreal moment when representatives of the Red Army walked into the basement, demanding surrender terms. The bravado of earlier months evaporated into cold reality. Boots on rubble, rifles laid down, and the knowledge that freedom was gone. Hindenlang and his men were taken prisoner. He spent years in Soviet captivity, moving through camps, enduring harsh winters and grueling labor. Many prisoners perished. Historians estimate that the majority of German POWs captured at Stalingrad died before the war's end. Hindenlang survived and returned home in 1952, carrying wounds not only of body but of memory, a reminder of the price paid in the ruins of Stalingrad. After returning to Germany, Hindenlang spoke about his experiences, not as glory, but as endurance. He shared how trivial comforts became treasured memories: a letter received at Christmas, a ration of food that saved a life, a moment of human connection amid rubble. In one remarkable anecdote, he smuggled Adolf Hitler's Mein Kampf through several prison camps, hiding it in his gear, a strange companion amid suffering. Stalingrad was more than a battle. It was a crucible that burned away illusions of victory and left scars on all who fought there. For German soldiers like Hindenlang, it was a turning point, a confrontation with the collapse of an army and of the ideology that sent them there. Thousands never returned. The city itself was shattered, and the survivors carried their memories quietly, often never fully spoken. This is not a story of triumph. It is a story of survival, of fear, endurance, and reflection. Gerhard Hindenlang's testimony reminds us that history is made not only by generals and strategy, but by the ordinary men who lived, suffered, and remembered.